Welcome to the video. My name is Reed Sassenberg and I'm the founder of Married Ambition. In today's video, we're talking about how I help men prevent divorce. This is part 9, rebuilding respect and attraction. So today we're talking about rebuilding respect and attraction, obviously, during a marriage crisis. Okay, there's a very specific set of behaviors you have to exhibit consistently to rebuild respect and attraction in a marriage crisis. So when your wife has said, I want space, separation, or a divorce, many men completely misunderstand this process and where she's currently at. She's checked out emotionally because the emotional safety, the emotional connection is not present. There's a huge disconnect. So when guys try to approach this problem through convincing, through talking, through relationship talks, through romance, through effort, through love bombing, for example, this backfires big time. It pushes her further away because she sees that as manipulation, trying to pull her back into a situation she does not want to be in. Now, once you've re-established emotional safety, once you've re-established that emotional connection, once she starts trusting your behavior and your actions and your consistency again, that's when you can start doing these things: romance, emotional effort, buying her things, gifts, flowers, all those things. Then they start working because the foundation has been relayed. So attraction in long-term relationships is deeply connected to emotional experience. What do I mean by emotional experience? How does your presence feel emotionally for her? Do you suffocate her emotionally? Are you hard to be around emotionally? Are you hard to communicate with? Or do you feel grounded? Do you feel stable? Do you feel confident? Are you emotionally safe? Is she able to emotionally connect with you? Or do you feel reactive, needy, emotionally chaotic, desperate, and dependent? Attraction will struggle to grow inside emotional instability because polarity will be destroyed. Women are emotionally unstable. They're inherently emotional. They're up and down like a roller coaster. Your job is to be grounded, to be centered, to be her calm in the storm. That's what you need to be focusing on during this crisis. She cannot build trust with you in a emotionally chaotic environment that is being led by you. So really what we're talking about here is emotional leadership to rebuild attraction and respect. She cannot connect to a man who is emotionally chaotic, who provides an environment that is emotionally unsafe, a slave to his emotions instead of a man that is able to observe his emotions and choose his response. There's a huge difference. She can't open up. She can't connect. And this is really the chain of attraction, right? In long-term relationships, we're talking about emotional safety as a baseline or the foundation where she can be herself 100% of the time without getting emotionally punished by you. How do you emotionally punish her? Withdraw, stonewall, passive aggression, aggressiveness, control conversations, always override her opinions, things like that, okay? Once you re-establish the emotional safety, she can start opening up slightly because there's a baseline of safety. And once she starts opening up more, she starts trusting you more. Then when she starts trusting you, along with opening up more, guess what happens? She starts feeling connected to you. Then that's where the attraction, respect, and admiration kick in, and that's where you start moving towards reconciliation. But until you change the environment, which you have full 100% ownership of as a man, you can change the environment you step into. Once you create an environment of positivity and safety, respect and attraction, obviously the respect, attraction, and her connection comes back. Women make emotional decisions. Change her emotions and her decisions can change. Why does this matter? So women in general, emotionally disconnect when they stop emotionally respecting the energy they experience consistently. What environment do you create with her consistently? That's the key. Is it an environment of connection, respect, admiration, or is it an environment where she feels unsafe, where she feels unseen, unheard, unvalidated? That's the difference. That's the difference between divorce and a great marriage for a woman. Now, respect is not about dominance, okay? It's about your frame, your emotional frame. It's about your emotional steadiness. That's what creates respect, self-respect, leadership, discipline, calmness under pressure. I would say the definition of masculinity is to be, one of the core tenets is to be comfortable in the uncomfortable. And many men lose themselves during this relationship crisis when she says, I want space, where I want separation, I want a divorce. When the guy hears, or the man hears those words, guys lose themselves. Their emotions take over. And then from that point forward, their emotional state becomes completely dependent on their wife's mood, or their wife's validation, or their wife's reassurance. If she's warm, they feel good. If she's distant, they collapse emotionally. That dynamic will destroy attraction, because emotional dependence creates huge pressure on the woman, which will strangle polarity. Polarity is the key to attraction. So if you're not in control of your emotions as a man, and you're leaking all this emotional energy out in conversation, in when you're around her, in the environment you're creating, it's going to kill the polarity. So what do we need to stop doing? What's the key to rebuilding respect and attraction back into the marriage, into the relationship, and start moving towards reconciliation? Stop abandoning yourself emotionally trying to save the relationship. You're not sleeping, you're not eating, you're not following any routines, you've got no structure, you've neglecting your role as a father. You can't do those things when you've been given the bomb, when you've been given that slap, that gut punch of, I want space, separation, or divorce. You've got to get it together. You've got to hold it together, even if inside you're screaming out in pain. That's what men do. We have to hold it together here. If you want to save your marriage, you have to hold it together. So stop seeking external validation from her. Stop making your wife the center of your emotional stability. Stop believing attraction comes from chasing harder emotionally. Desperation will destroy respect. Neediness will destroy polarity. Over-explaining yourself constantly destroys your own emotional frame and her ability to trust you. Over-explaining. The same conversations on repeat with no change. Pretending to be confident while emotionally collapsing internally will change nothing. Sure, that's a short-term strategy which I encourage you to do, but you've got to really become confident. You've got to deal with the outcome acceptance. You've got to become outcome independent, which means that you focus on the process, irrespective of her response. Your wife will experience the energy, your nervous system that you put into the environment far more than your words. Communication is 90% nonverbal. It's about your energy, it's about your tone, it's about your body language. So you can't fake this stuff. You've got to become the real deal here. You've got to do the real work on yourself. You've got to build frame, your emotional, physical, and mental frame. How can we implement this? How can we stop making the situation worse? And how can we start implementing respect and attraction back into the relationship through this reconciliation process? You have to build self-respect first. Self-worth is the foundation of having a successful marriage. Without self-worth, without self-respect, without the foundation of seeing yourself as valuable, you cannot save your marriage. You cannot save your marriage if you have low levels of self-worth, because you will sabotage yourself emotionally through your interpretation. So how do we build self-worth? We keep our word to ourselves. We build structure and we follow through on it relentlessly, and we start trusting ourselves. We get in the best shape of our lives. We build routines. We strengthen our discipline in those areas. We reconnect with our purpose. We start understanding how to deal with our emotions. We create healthy boundaries in our relationships. We become emotionally grounded enough that your identity no longer collapses every time the relationship feels uncertain. This does not mean becoming cold. This does not mean becoming distant. This does not mean becoming checked out. This means you provide a steady, consistent energy every single time you have interactions with her. Because that's who you are. That's your identity. It's not a mask. So to get to that position, you have to do a lot of work. You have to go through the awareness phase. You have to take on the extreme ownership. You need to take on outcome independence. You need to work through outcome acceptance. All these different phases in the program that I have in my community that you have to go through to become that grounded, steady presence she's looking for. You become emotionally stable, emotionally self-sufficient. So the way we rebuild respect and attraction is by doing identity change, becoming who we need to become, becoming the man who can actually have a thriving long-term relationship. So the way this plays out in this situation where, she's not validating your change, she's not wanting to fix the relationship, she's not doing any of those things. It's a matter of showing up the same way every single time because that's who you are. That energy changes the attraction completely. I want her, I don't need her. So you make the efforts to reconcile. You make the efforts to follow the process to get to reconciliation because you want her, but you don't need that outcome. That you bring, if you operate from that frame, you bring a completely different energy. Your reactivity drops significantly, emotional reactivity. Now, to get to that position, you have to work through your traumas, through your insecurities, through your bucket of rocks. You have to do the work in that area, reframe things, and be consistent with how this is showing up for you in changing how you're thinking, how you're interpreting things, and being able to sit with your emotions and then express them privately. So the attraction will return. Look, attraction can be present, but it won't be sufficient if there's no emotional safety. So attraction can really build when the emotional safety rebuilds. And that comes from you creating an environment that is emotionally steady because you're emotionally steady. And your self-respect demands that's your standard. You do not become a slave to your emotions anymore. You're in control of your emotions. So the key points in the recap here on this lesson about building attraction and respect during a marriage crisis, okay? Attraction is influenced by emotional stability, not emotional effort. Emotional stability, emotional strength as a man, not emotional effort. If you're emotionally dependent on your wife, so you have levels of codependency, if you are emotionally dependent on your wife, this will deeply, deeply erode the respect, attraction, and safety in the relationship. You need to detach from her frame. You need to get out of her frame and start building your own. The neediness, the desperation, the over-explaining will destroy polarity, which is the glue of attraction, the glue to sexual intimacy in relationships, long-term relationships. Your emotional state, the energy you bring into the environment, communicates much louder than what you're actually saying. This is why it's beneficial early on to give her space. Once you've given her that space and you start working on yourself, you start getting in the best shape of your life, you start following through on your discipline, you start following and identifying a purpose that you can work towards. You start focusing on your emotional control. You start implementing boundaries with her and people around you. And you be consistent with those behaviors. You build your self-respect and you start changing the environment for the positive. You need to show that you care deeply about the relationship, but you don't lose yourself in the process trying to force this outcome. You want her, you don't need her. So attraction grows when a man is emotionally grounded, stable, and self-respecting, not when he is chasing, convincing, or seeking validation, which is pressuring her, which will push her further away. Attraction can grow in space. Not just physical space, but emotional space. Constant texting, constant calling, constant relationship talks, constant validation seeking. Remove all those behaviors. Do the work on yourself. Become emotionally self-sufficient. Identity change. Identity level based change. And let the attraction and respect grow through being consistent with your behaviors, without pressuring her, without suffocating her emotionally. You build that foundation of safety, and the attraction, the respect, the connection, the trust can all come back if you're consistent. If you want the full roadmap to go from your wife saying, I want space, separation, or divorce, book a call below. Book a call, a one-on-one call with me below. We'll go through the process that you need to go through to turn your marriage around and save your marriage and keep your family together and prevent divorce. It's a free call, but it's for guys who are serious about change, guys who are serious about saving their marriages. Have a look in the video description on this video. I'll put through the call link there. So if you're in this position, like I said, where she said she wants space, separation, or divorce, book that call and let's have a chat and see if we can help you.